When I left Indian Express, I was told that you won't last even 3 months. I was quintessentially a document print reporter, and I'd moved to television, which had nothing to do with documents. 17 years later, I'm still here. Men are insecure.
Yeah.
I mean, the bosses I've had have been extremely insecure. You don't fit that stereotype that you're not that young, sexy looking thing. Arnab is somebody who actually got me into television, and I've always admitted it. My mother always taught me, कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना.
Namaste, Jai Hind. Welcome to another edition of ANI Podcast with Smita Prakash. Today I spoke with Navika Kumar, who's the group editor of the Times Network. It was an interview in which we discussed a whole lot of issues, including the Nupur Sharma episode, which got a lot of flack for the channel as well as for Navika, and there were FIRs against her. We spoke about the future of television. We also spoke about television debates which are blamed for all the controversies which are happening in the country today. Also, people saying that hate is what is being generated in these TV debates. Listen in. Navika, thank you so much for being part of ANI Podcast with Smita Prakash. I'm going to begin with the obvious question, which is like, you are literally on in everybody's drawing room every single day. Like, we're watching you on Times Now with English channel, we watch you on the Hindi channel, or jab weekend ko you're on Frankly Speaking and something. So, do people come up to you and like, because you're in their drawing room saying, ha, they know you so well, wo thoda familiarity ho jata hai because they think they know you and you don't know them.
That happens to me sometimes when I enter a room or enter a strange place, a hotel lobby or something, or a airport. There's some people who almost say hello to you and they don't know, they can't place where they've seen you, and you know they've seen you on TV, but they can't connect. So I sometimes when I see that confusion on people's faces, I go up to them and say, yes, you saw me on Times Now. Or yes, you saw me on Times Now Navbharat. I'm the same Navika Kumar. And then they say, oh yes, we saw you there. We were trying to recall that did we know you, and did we meet you at a party or something. That happens sometimes, but familiarity, I think talking to you, Smita, is such a change. Normally, one is on the other side asking the questions. And podcast with ANI, I think, is doing a world of good to you, getting people to talk. I'm enjoying watching your episodes, and you're quite burning a trail yourself.
Oh, thank you.
And for me, talking to ANI, it's more talking to Smita, who's been one of the few friends that I've had.
Yeah, I've known you for a long, long time, and we've been working together. And it's lovely to see friends becoming so successful. And like I've seen you in the print side, and then you made this shift to television. That was quite a leap of faith, Navika. So I'm going to get to that. But before that, when we were talking about the familiarity angle, I have to talk about your family. They are so wonderful. Such a lovely sense of humor your family has, and they're very grounded. Like, they live with a star in the house. But जरा सा भी if you show a little bit of, मैंने इनसे बात की थी, मैंने फलां से बात की थी, immediately, like, come to earth. Right?
Star in the house is definitely not how they treat me.
Okay.
And I think my children are the levelers, so to speak, keep me firmly grounded. According to them, I'm doing nothing right. I don't know if you face that with your children, but my children really think, and the younger one even more so critical of what I'm doing. When you're 21, everything seems so
Yeah.
pointless.
Yeah, and the
So-
world thinks that, like, oh my God, you're a very powerful person. You come back home to reality, earth. Right?
Totally earth. And I remember my younger one when he was growing up. I have a 9.5 year age gap between my two children. And my younger one, when he was growing up, I came home and I said to him, did you watch Mom on TV? So he says, I don't like that you want to avoid me and you go inside and hide inside the TV. I don't like
So
that at all.
cute.
So
So sweet. Okay, so now when you took that leap of faith, Navika, I mean, not many people, when you have success in print and you worked in print medium for several years, not many people shift. It's usually the other way around. Television is like so exhausting. And so there's a burnout. And, in your mid 30s or early 40s, you say, bahut ho gaya TV. And then you move to print, you like the slower pace. Most people like that. But you did the other way around. Was that like a difficult decision for you to take?
Smita, my life has never been planned. So it's not like I thought that, oh, I've done this and now I want to do this and this is how the ladder is shaped. I didn't know the next step that I would take me up somewhere or would throw me down into an abyss because there was nothing beyond it. So life has never been planned. I started working, got married within a year, had a child in the same year of marriage, and had a difficult time and gave up, working all together for 3 years, brought up my child. Came back, had to restart all over again. So there have been so many challenges that I've never looked at anything as a planned way of climbing some hill or a ladder or something like that. I'd worked almost 2 years before marriage and up to my baby in print. Then I quit it all. Then I freelanced for a bit, and then I came back and joined back the Indian Express in 1995. And I only remember the stories that I did and the tough challenges that came my way. For example, I was expected to deliver on the first day. I was given a beat in the Indian Express.
Which beat was that?
The telecom beat. And the day was, if you recall, 1996, the day was, raids in Sukhram's house.
Oh, yeah.
And money was coming out
TV
of...
में से पैसे निकले और something.
गद्दे में से और अलमारियों के पीछे वो the भट्टा that was there, वो निकाल के अंदर पैसे थे. And I was told by evening I have to produce a page one story. And I didn't even know the way to Sanchar Bhavan in Delhi. So, that's how it began, trial by fire. And I only know that, I sincerely worked hard. I sort of went, I had this way of getting into crooks and crannies of various, bhavans.
And also, one, just to tell our viewers or listeners who may not know that this was a period when we couldn't Google information. We had to go to that Sanchar Bhavan, you had to go to Shastri Bhavan, you had to go to Raksha Bhavan, you had to get the information out, you had to meet with people, Google करके copy paste नहीं होता था.
And it was the era of landlines because cell phones at that time were 16 rupees per minute and definitely you and I could not afford
nothing, no chance.
at that point in time. So that's the way we started. So when the issue, I'd already worked for 10 years post my comeback, so to speak, in print, in the Indian Express. And I was pretty happy, sorted, doing my kind of stories.
Yeah, you were breaking stories. And
I was breaking stories in a sweet spot there and, keeping my home work-life balance and all of that was happening till Times Now was going to be launched and I was followed for almost 3-4 months. Why don't you join us? Why didn't you join us?
I remember that, yes.
And I felt, why should I disturb? I am a bit resistant to change. So I said, why should I change? I'm doing all right. And I'm in a sweet spot and balancing everything. Why should I go? Why should I go? And you know what actually made me change my mind? It wasn't the thought about, going from print to television and how my life would turn topsy-turvy. It was actually that I was traveling to Australia. And I had my cell phone because of small kids I used to carry. And newspapers never used to pick up the tab for that bill.
For international calls?
For international calls.
Okay.
And because there was no minute-to-minute reporting like in television that I learned subsequently. So I was there and I got these calls, asking me to join. And the conversation wasn't ending because I had not even agreed to meet the people. And finally, because I wanted that call to end, I said, okay, when I'm in Delhi, I'll come and meet you because my bill was growing.
Can you imagine
And
such a
that was the
momentous
way.
decision?
And then there was no looking back because, an opportunity was knocking my door. And I felt, okay, they've relentlessly followed me. Let me try it for 3 months. Let's see how it goes. And when I left Indian Express, I was crying and I was told that you can come back whenever you feel like. You won't last even 3 months.
You won't last?
Even
What?
3 months.
Really? Why?
And a very dear old politician told me when I joined and informed, people got to know that I'd changed my job. I was told that I'd made the hugest, biggest, gigantic mistake of my life because I was quintessentially a document print reporter and I'd moved to television, which had nothing to do with documents. 17 years later, I'm still here.
Good for you.
And I brought document journalism
Yeah.
to television
Yeah.
and made it interesting.
Yeah, a number of firsts to your name, and I think also you caused a kind of a disruption, if I may say so, because there were many who were in the print medium, women journalists, who did not make that shift at that point of time. Because when you're in your mid-30s or early 40s, as an anchor, there weren't many when you made that. Usually there were these young, pretty girls who were doing anchoring, whereas you made that shift and you came straight on as an anchor. You didn't come as a producer.
No, that's not really true because I didn't join as an anchor at all. I joined as the political economy editor.
okay.
So I was more in love with my reporting. That was my passion. That was my calling. Frankly, anchoring was never something. And I'm not even a trained journalist. I've done no journalism course. I've not done any mass communication course. I'm a postgrad in eco and I moved and I was covering more economic beats, so to speak, economy beats. And I realized that if I didn't touch the politics of the political economy, I would never make it to front page on Indian Express. And that, sort of resulted in the stories that I did. And I thought many people think that anchor is the be all and end all. I think it's highly overrated. I think unless you've been in the gullies of the ministries, if you're doing policy, if you're doing government functioning, unless you've been, through all the floors of North Block, some people don't even know that there is a second floor. And there are attics there where there are loads of files and information.
Lot of
hidden.
khabar.
Lot of cover if you know what you're looking for and if you know the right people and if, frankly, you know how the system works. And I want to share this with you because, whenever I went to North Block, the peons outside the
Babu's office.
with Mantri's office,
Okay.
they've remained the same in the last 25 years. So the common chat between us used to be, Madam, आप भी आते रहोगे, हम भी यही रहेंगे, मंत्री आते जाते हैं.
True.
And that is the philosophy of life. Governments change, finance ministers change. We've seen it all.
Bureaucrats retire.
Bureaucrats retire.
Yeah.
But media and a little bit of that things, they remain the same. So I used to know all the peons, all the guards in Sanchar Bhavan, in North Block, and, somewhere in South Block. These are the people that I used to really hobnob with.
Like, when you and I, we attend press conferences, we've attended that in the past, and you get this attitude thrown your way because, from a bureaucrat or from a politician. In your mind, you're having this conversation and you're telling him, कर ले जो करना है. 5 साल में you will be gone. या फिर 3 साल में you will be transferred to, somewhere else. मैं तो यही करती रहूंगी. मैं यहीं पे हूँ.
I know.
You know?
So
These are
it's
conversations in our head.
in our heads. I don't know how many of these conversations we've had, and I've done the gamut. I've done Krishi Bhavan. I've done food. There was a time when I was doing. Do you know ration prices, issue prices of wheat and rice,
Which
were
will never
declared.
make it to newspapers or television
But they were
screens now.
declared. No, it used to be front page news for the ET or somewhere
Okay,
because
for
it
the
was
pink
general
papers.
public
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
So I've covered that. I've covered monsoon forecasts. I've covered everything. Sugarcane arrears. Then I've covered transport. I've covered commerce. I've done WTO meetings by the dozen. And so you
Which is why I wonder why did your former colleagues or even seniors say that you won't make it in television? You're a hardcore journo.
I'll tell you why. Because you don't fit that stereotype that you're not that young, sexy looking thing. You are one amma of two children. And, you are knocking on 40 and wanting to shift. Hello? What are you smoking these days? People would
Yeah.
tell you. And frankly, Smita, it's all in your head. What is it that you say, oh, you've made it? And what is it that is actually some sort of an achievement? It's different for different people.
Yeah.
For me, just to be able to work and then come back home and also get homework done was the work-life balance at a certain stage in life that I needed. And I did that. And I wasn't apologetic about it.
And you got that work-life balance when that term wasn't fashionable. पता भी नहीं था कि there's something
हाँ,
called work-life balance. वो हो गया.
हो गया क्योंकि करना था. I mean, I couldn't. I didn't have a mother-in-law who would help me running the house. So I had to do these things myself, and there wasn't. I mean, I wasn't a one Sati Savitri who was dying because she was bringing up her kids and working, and Nirupa Roy who was, stitching blouses. I mean, ऐसा कुछ नहीं
But
था.
Navika, I had a guest here, a doctor whose episode we'll run later, who's a mental health expert, and she was talking about this, this poster, iconic poster when we were kids, like, getting into journalism and all. It was like, this was like very motivational, कि हाँ हम सब कुछ कर सकते हैं. She said, but this proved to be detrimental to the mental health of many women professionals who thought they can do everything and who were told you can do everything. So there was this desire to prove to everybody कि मैं ये भी कर सकती हूँ, ये भी कर सकती हूँ, ये भी कर सकती हूँ. And as a result of that, women professionals, our age group, took on just too much. Do you agree with that point of view? No.
Psychiatry, with all due respect to them, I have nothing to contribute to it. It's all very well. It's actually each to their
Personal.
own. What you devise for, what works for you only works for you. Nobody else can prescribe. ये ऐसे कर लेना, सुबह ऐसे उठ जाना, शाम को बच्चे देख लेना. Nobody can do it for you.
Yeah.
Every household, every individual's children, every individual's home or work has its own requirement and demands.
True.
So how can anybody prescribe anything to you?
Yeah.
You just do it. At least I've done it through trial and error. This is working, this is not working, तो छोड़ दो. जिस दिन ज़रूरी है कर लो, जिस दिन नहीं ज़रूरी है इसको पीछे कर दो, उसको आगे कर लो. That's how you get through life.
So is it like easier for women journos if they have a woman boss, like as a woman editor? Do you feel that you're more empathetic because you understand what it means, or is it the same?
How
like-
many women bosses are there, Smita?
Yeah.
I've not had one. Have you?
No.
So,
So that's what I'm asking.
where was the choice?
There was no choice. Yes.
And men are insecure.
Yeah.
I mean, the bosses I've had have been extremely insecure. They've not allowed you or given you something out of choice. You've had to, and I don't hold it against them. That's the way the world is. You have to fight to stay where you are. You have to fight even harder to get ahead. And that is the struggle in life that we've been used to. And that's the way it is. I mean, there is no fairy tale made out of, oh, I've been through this struggle and therefore today I should be. It's just the way life is. Your kids fall ill. and there is a big story, it normally happens around the same time. When you have to travel, your child will fall ill, and you have to balance, and then you will have your guilt to deal with. It's not somebody from the outside who's telling you. It's not your workspace which is telling you कि ये करो वैसे करो, you know. It's just you yourself. You are fighting those battle, as you said, inside your mind, inside your heart, and you do, and you try and somehow get a right balance. Sometimes you succeed, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
And that's the way it
when
goes.
you moved from print to television, how different were the newsrooms of print? Because, you know, many young journalists, when they come to television newsroom, the immediacy, the noise, the anger, all those passions which run very strong, and the abuses, because everybody, because you know the pressures are so much in television. Abhi chalna hai, live news hai, कंपेटिटर का न्यूज़ चल गया, हमारा लेट हो गया, तो हमने पहले कवर किया पर हमारा ऑन एयर लेट गया. Why did it happen? It's so noisy and angry, a television newsroom in most, you know. Whereas in a print, I'm guessing that, you know, it was a more slower.
Organized. It's slower.
Yeah.
At least in the time when I was in print, I don't know if things have changed, because now most print places also have to do digital reports and stuff like that. So that's changed quite a bit since I left 17 years ago. But yes, newsrooms in television are more noisy. When I came in here, Smita, I found a difference that there weren't many people my age. You understand? The newsroom was average age was much younger. And so I felt I was, kind of working with, kids at one level. There were a few mature people, but in television, I saw not many people were making friends. It was pretty competitive. In print, in that sense, I'm not saying it's any less competitive or there are more friends, so to speak. But at least conversations were relaxed. At least, I still have a group of friends from the Express that I still go out to lunch with. So there is a little bit of जिसको बोलते हैं ना ठहरा हुआ conversations that happened in print a lot more than I see it happening in television.
Yeah.
In the newsroom, frankly, no space for too much of camaraderie or even a relaxed conversation, because everything is on fire all the time.
Yeah, the immediacy factor. In fact, the print guys also say, those who work in print say that this immediacy factor is detrimental to journalism, and that's why there's no depth to television journalism compared to print. You know, they sit on this pedestal compared to television journalists कि हम तो in-depth reporting करते हैं, which to a certain extent, yes, sir, if you're doing print journalism, you can take 3 days to file a story, or, at least in those days it was. Nowadays, though, because of web, as you were saying, everybody has to file something.
And news, I've not worked in a magazine, so I don't know how magazines work. But in newspapers...
let me tell you, you've done PM visits, right? We've done it together, PM...
yes,
do you
but
remember?
For television.
For television. We had to file a story a day. Right? Or sometimes 3 stories, sometimes report on that. And you remember Outlook and India Today used to be the magazines who used to travel with us. At the end of the entire visit, they would file 1 story. Because that's all you needed to do. Kitna maza, they would do the sightseeing, they would do everything. Whereas we had to file blow by blow, which everything, there is a difference between.
There is a difference. My only sense is that, there is no comparison. To each their own. If somebody likes the pace of doing it once in a week, so be it for them. And if they think they are adding much more value to it, good luck to them. But I think in television, what I feel, and I'm sure these days I'm so used to everything I say being split into so many different fibers, each meaning something else. But I look at it this way, that you have to be so much there if you are in television.
Yeah.
The challenge to my mind in that sense is so much more, because you have to be all there.
Yeah.
When you're saying something, you've got to have everything in your mind. There isn't a script that you're reading from, especially if you're reporting.
Yeah.
And especially if you're interacting. especially if you're doing a show. You've got to have it all here working in your mind, and you have to manage a panel, and you have to keep your eye on the possible line of debate, the outcomes, etc. So it's all, you've got to be there. Isn't that more challenging than sitting? If you're writing a print copy also, at least घंटा तो मिलता है. You get an hour or two, whatever. You get more time than a television journalist gets. And then you have a camera on you which is catching every
Nuance,
single
yes.
nuanced expression
Yeah.
on your face. So you know,
True, true, true.
you know what it means?
Yes,
So I'm not I've been on both sides of the fence, and I've loved both sides. So I'm not making a comparison कि ये अच्छा है वो अच्छा नहीं है, ये बुरा है वो बुरा नहीं है. I'm just saying that there are different challenges that
Yeah.
you have to sort of meet, and whatever works for you at that given point in time is great.
Yeah, let me get to the point of TV debates.
Oh, what took you so long, Smita?
So I mean, anchors are now the source of all evil of society, everything, right? From the respected judiciary
The
to
sunrise
politician
today
to
was a
society.
little late, our fault.
Your fault, yes. So you are the cause of all evil. I mean, everybody says that society is breaking up because of TV debates, है ना? So, and you were talking about how you have to be alert all the time कि कोई कुछ कह देगा तो it becomes your fault. How does that rest on your shoulders?
Smita, as I've grown up, some very very fundamental thoughts and principles of life I've grown up with. For example, my parents are from erstwhile Pakistan, and during partition they walked and came. My mother came in a train where people were being literally slaughtered around her. So she's seen that with her own eyes, and she would wake up in cold sweat till I was 17, 18. Middle of the night she would have nightmares, and I've seen that. And my father, when we were three siblings, and when we used to fight, I don't have a study table and my brother is pushing his elbow, and my father would come and tell us this story, that, and we never like our children, we never kind of made fun of the stories our parents told us about their childhood. My father always told us a story कि मैं नंगे पैर आया था लाहौर से, हमारी फैमिली भागी थी जान बचा के, मैंने अपनी पूरी पढ़ाई लखनऊ के some park he used to mention which I've forgotten, लखनऊ के पार्क की स्ट्रीट लाइट के नीचे बैठ के मैंने पढ़ाई की और मैं इंजीनियर बना, और मैंने अपने भाइयों को पढ़ाया और अपनी बहनों की शादी की इन हालातों में. मतलब यहाँ से हम निकले हैं.
That is struggle.
So from there, then my father also started the first fertilizer PSU in the country, and then went to a private job and stuff like that. So when we were born, we had cars. हमारे पास गाड़ियाँ थीं और हम लड़ रहे होते थे कि हमारे पास अलग अलग कमरे क्यों नहीं है. So my father used to always tell us, there is no shortcut in life. मेहनत करो, सिंसियरली करो, ज़रूर मिलेगा. शॉर्टकट नेवर इज़ लॉन्ग लास्टिंग. शॉर्ट का मतलब ही होता है कि अभी तो शॉर्टकट हो गया, बाद में वापस चला जाएगा. सो सिंसेरिटी एंड हार्ड वर्क इज़ व्हाट विल गेट यू whatever. So I keep that principle in my life, that wherever I am, it may be the first step of the ladder, it may be down under, wherever I am because of my hard work. Because I worked my way up, I didn't have nobody to push me ahead. So sincerity and hard work, that was one principle. And my mother always taught me, कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना. So don't bother, you don't have to justify. जो सही है गलत है, उसकी पहचान करनी सीखो और सही के रास्ते पे चलो. बाकी कौन सवाल पूछ रहा है, कौन उंगली उठा रहा है, हमने किसी को जवाब नहीं देना, सिर्फ उसको जवाब देना है. We should not be going there to our maker and then have to lower our gaze and say कि हाँ गलती हो गई.
पर मुश्किल है ना नाविका.
नहीं मुश्किल है पर क्या आप क्या जवाब दोगे किसी को. तो आप वो करो जो सही है.
How do you, like you were talking about, you got to be alert all the time. Because it's not just what you're saying, what the other person is saying in the debate, an expert is saying, agar usne galti kar di and you don't catch that, or you don't stop that person, or you don't counter that person, then also it's your fault.
No, but even if you counter and you set it, set the record straight, even then you have FIRs against you because you haven't countered by screaming at that person, throwing the person out. एक तरफ आप कहते हो कि टीवी पे बहुत हल्ला चिल्लाहट होती है, दूसरी तरफ आप अगर किसी को गलत हो तो गलत बोल दो, तो आपने जोर से क्यों नहीं बोला, आपने तमाचा क्यों नहीं मारा. अब टेलीविजन पे आप कितना ही तमाचा किसी को मार लो. So that's the way it is. You can't please everybody.
True.
You ultimately have to answer your own conscience that what you did, could you have done it better? I think always without question. Could you have done better? There is always space for improvement.
So when you look back on that Nupur Sharma episode, I mean, that led to a lot of flack coming the way of the channel and you. There were FIRs and well, everybody knows the snowballing effect of that one debate. When you look back, do you regret? Could you have done things better? Or do you think that this is the pitfall of journalism on television?
Smita, the only thing that I feel is that could I have done it better? Or like I said, always everything can be done better. My best debate, I can still do better because in hindsight, कि अरे at that inflection point, I could have said this. But you're as good as your thought process at that time. Plus, in television, there are a lot of things that are not visible. Today, I can talk about it because the Supreme Court has heard my case. I mean, so far, I could not even speak about it. And I don't want to go because a part of the case is still pending.
Yes.
But I just want to say this, that I've said this on the show, but nobody wanted to hear that. And nobody's heard the show in its entirety. It was a 33-minute long debate. And in the beginning, I'm telling them that don't speak over each other. I'm in Kashmir. There is a problem in connection.
Oh, you couldn't hear clearly.
And there is a time lag when you are outstation.
Yeah.
You have worked on satellite links. You know there is a time lag.
Yeah, it takes about 20 seconds, sometimes more.
Yeah, sometimes more. And on the day this was, and you can pick up, I think it was 26th of May, you can pick up the newspapers that day. There were a few encounters in that week where Hindus had been targeted. So our office is in Lal Chowk area. The internet was not functioning properly there. The delays were much longer than they normally are. Okay. Internet is a bit iffy in the heart of Srinagar at the best of times. And this was a day when internet really was rather terrible connections at that time. And I've said this on the show in the beginning that I'm requesting all my panelists to please not speak over each other because there is a delay in communication. It's very much there in that file, that link, which
you submitted that to court.
We submitted it to the court.
Okay.
And I have said that there, and there is a time lag of 20-25 seconds. So half the problem arises out of the fact that people thought that I was hearing and not reacting. I was hearing
half
and not...
Nahi, those who picked that, the so-called fact checkers who picked only a portion.
Well, fact checkers, God bless their souls, because as I said...
You're kind. I don't want to bless. I don't want God to bless.
Ultimately, to wo hai na, the ultimate judge is the maker. I leave everything to the maker, frankly, because justice is not for us to do over here. And especially if you're an accused, how can you do or say anything? Okay. So right now...
So that only that part of. So then what happened then with
So
that?
then after Nupur said what she said, she had also been provoked to my mind by the other panelists.
Huh.
I just came in and I said that this country has to be run by the constitution of this country, and this country's constitution makes it imperative on both sides not to hurt each other's religious sentiments, because these are questions of faith and this is ensured in the constitution. Now, to my mind, I had put both people in their places
Yeah.
by saying that the country has to be run. Now, did I not call names to Nupur Sharma? Should I have called names? Why? I don't know. Did
Yeah.
I call names to the other person on the show? No, I didn't.
Tasneem
And
Rahmani,
it's not me to call people names.
yeah.
And in this case, by the time the delay and whatever had happened, I ended the debate with one sentence, and to my mind, I had put the perspective and the context where it should have been, which is the constitution.
But it snowballed into something so big, and then this whole
Because
debate-
fact checkers love us.
fact checkers
Love us.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in quotes, and though it's an podcast, वो देख नहीं सकते, but I'm putting it in quotes, right? The fact checkers, so-called fact checkers, and
जितनी इस दुनिया में हेट्रेड है,
Yeah.
उतनी मोहब्बत होती तो
That
जिंदगी गुलजार होती.
that hatred, yeah, I can't sometimes understand that, you know, this whole thing, North Korean television, ये वो, मतलब कि हम जो न्यूज़ कर रहे हैं वो बेस्ट है. I can also sit and say that जो मैं करती हूँ सबसे अच्छा है. I can't understand some of your colleagues who worked with you for 15-20 years even, वो कहाँ से उठ गए to say that, you know, yours is North Korean television. How do you deal with that? People you work
I
with.
have very few friends, Smita, in the profession that I am in, and you know, my family not connected to any of the things that I do. They are completely on the other side of the fence. So it's very easy. I choose my friends, and my friends are for life. I don't have too many friends in the same profession.
Yeah.
And therefore, this conversation, frankly, doesn't happen in my friend circle. Of course, my friends have been very, very kind to me. The ones who are not in this profession, but who are in other professions, who've stood by me like a rock, and some of them happen to be lawyers. Do you know? I want to say this about my friends. Some of them happen to be lawyers. My son is also a lawyer, but he can't officially appear for me because there is some bar rule that disallows a child
Yeah,
to...
it's so bizarre. Anyway, but dare not say
But-
bizarre with the
Yeah.
judiciary. You can't say that.
contempt.
Contempt हो जाएगा. Okay.
So, you know, my son actually, because he's a lawyer and he knew what the pitfalls were, he was more worried than I was.
Yeah.
I took it in my stride कि अरे होगा तो अब ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा जेल में डालेंगे, फांसी में डालेंगे. It's okay. अब करना है तो कर दो. मतलब
It was
it's
that
okay.
bad, like you were that situation then.
Because people were scaring me and there was so much hate, and I, you know, social media is
Yeah.
so full of, you know,
Yeah. There's
venom.
something- yeah.
They preach so much about tolerance.
Yeah.
But all the intolerance is on social media.
Especially the so-called liberals, no? They got after you.
ये liberal क्या होता है स्मिता, मुझे एक बार समझा देना.
Huh.
I am from a small town.
Even on your clothes, they make comments. I can't understand.
I'm Benji, no? Somebody, oh no, my name on social media is Kachra. I have trended with the name Kachra.
गुस्सा नहीं चढ़ता.
No. I waste.
You don't hit back. I've seen that. There are many journalists. I
क्यों?
can't. I hit back. I shouldn't.
Kyun? Take a deep breath. Listen to Mohammad Rafi. There's nothing that, you know, an evening of Mohammad Rafi doesn't sort out for you.
Navika, please. You कोई Mother Teresa, Dalai Lama तो नहीं ना हम.
नहीं मदर टेरेसा होने की जरूरत ही नहीं है यार. I'm telling you because my you know, music for me is like forgetting everything else.
I've heard you sing. You sing lovely.
Whether I sing, I used to at one point in time, Smita, it was my passion.
You
It
and
was-
Rishi Kapoor. My goodness. I mean, like, amazing.
No, I can you know, अब तो बहुत साल से रियाज नहीं किया, पर मैंने गंधर्व महाविद्यालय से BA लेवल म्यूजिक किया है, तो आई एम लाइक अ सीरियस.
Yeah, so you would need something to, to cope with this stress. So music is the way.
I'm a regular South Delhi Punjabi. I have many outlets. Shopping, retail therapy is ranked higher. Music is there. Spending time with family is there. Khana pina. Oh, what is better than butter chicken and naan? It even had in my family, when the kids were this small, they used to say RRBC day to day.
What is that?
Rumali roti and butter chicken.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
the 100 दुखों की एक दवा, whatever.
हाँ, 100 दुखों की एक दवा. So, I it's not like I don't have my bad days, but I try to limit my bad days. I don't want to be Meena Kumari. With all due respect to Meena Kumari, tear jerkers don't turn me on. I love my Karan Johars. I love that live like king size. Not by robbing the banks, but wearing your polkis, your designer lehengas and all. So I can find happiness.
And you
can't
decide-
afford to buy it. You can just nain sukh.
नैन सुख.
नैन सुख देखे जाओ. अरे ज्वेलरी के वो देखते जाओ, डिजाइनर बैग्स देखते जाओ, बड़ी बड़ी गाड़ियां खरीदनी थोड़ी है सारी. एक भी
But
नहीं
you've got a
खरीदनी.
beautiful collection of saris. In fact, that's one thing also you did. Like anchors in those days when you started anchoring, everybody was in Western wear, jacket and shirt. And
I don't think like that, na. So it doesn't go with
so
me.
didn't
My
your
personal-
producers and directors say कि
Yeah.
नहीं ऐसे नहीं पहनना, साड़ी
They
नहीं
told
पहननी?
me. Then first I was told to wear jackets and shirts. It just wasn't me. It just wasn't me. I probably didn't do that much of Western wear even in college. I was more a chudidar kurta kind of a person.
So you took that to the screen and said, "This is how I'm going to anchor."
It is me. Why should I adapt to others? Others should adapt to me.
Okay, that's the Punjabi in you.
मैं पंजाबी, मेरे को यही ठीक है भाई. ऐसे ही रहने दो. मिडिल एज पंजाबी तो फिर मिडिल एज पंजाबी रहने दो. It's okay. I don't have a point.
भाई
to
कोको
prove.
शनेल के साथ कंपेयर किया आपको. कोको शनेल फैशन.
वो तो कहाँ से आया, कहाँ लगा, किसके लिए था, क्यों मेरी तरफ आया, पता नहीं. With due regards to
the
all our
senior journals.
seniors.
Yeah.
पर
I was shocked when that comment was made about you, and I was like, this
मेरा कुछ
journalist-
लेना देना नहीं था भाई.
No, and we all looked up to this journalist and said that she's our senior. I mean, we used to look at all these,
Always.
right? And in fact, I don't want to name and say things, but then you saw these journalists
Where are
and
your
you
claws?
said that that when she in fact wrote a book on how when she was in NDTV, that NDTV English used to get all the bhav and all the finances, everything was towards English, and when she was in NDTV Hindi, it was considered the poorer cousin, and it was not the right, an entire book. And she anchored wearing a sari. She refused to anchor wearing a Western outfit, and then she made a snide remark on you, which really got my goat at that time. That how, I mean, I can imagine youngsters.
I know you stood up for me.
I was just like,
I
how?
think the only one who stood up for me, but
मतलब जर्नलिज्म पे कमेंट कर लो, नो ऑब्जेक्शन, पर किसी के ब्लाउज पे, किसी की साड़ी
मुझे
पे.
किसी चीज पे ऑब्जेक्शन नहीं है. जब आपको लोग कचरा बुला रहे हैं तो आप क्या ही चॉइस रखोगे.
Okay, I will reach your level of Zen
It
tolerance
doesn't.
someday,
No,
Navika.
it's
but
just
I can't.
ignore because does it impact your life? Are you going to change because somebody said something to you? तो फिर करना क्या है. इतना अपना ही भार बहुत है, वही उठा लो यार. इतना बैगेज इनका लेके कहाँ जाएंगे.
Also, you like a good spat sometimes, I feel, because this television.
सामने बैठ के लड़ो ना, तो put a name or a face to it, तो आके लड़ लो. I'm not I can have a good fight. I'm a Punjabi spirit, yaar.
So this fight is
Deep
going
down.
on ye TV channels. I'm going to get to that also. The unpleasant thing for me
Just don't
to
make me lose my job.
no. Of course you won't. I also don't want to talk much about it simply because all of you are my friends. All of you are also, disclaimer, all of you are also ANI's clients. So for me, it's a difficult thing to talk. And I've seen you all. I've seen you, I've seen Arnab, I've seen Rahul Shivshankar for 20 odd years. Rahul and I even worked in the same newsroom. Arnab's
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, we worked in the same newsroom, and he used to work for the BBC News Channel at that time with Reuters, and so we worked in the same newsroom. And then with Arnab, his wife was my producer when I used to do a television show for Doordarshan. So I've known all of you to 20, 25 years and worked with all of you. You and I have covered press conferences together. And now I'm seeing you all jagdoing with each other. It's very difficult for me. But I have to ask you that why is it on air? Why are the fights on air? Why not off air?
I'll just say कि अपने दोस्त से पूछ लो यार.
Yeah, if I ask him, he'll say the same thing.
See, I personally don't think that dirty linen should be washed in public. That's where I come from. If I have a problem with you, Smita, and it's not like I am this zen level of tolerance and it's such a put on. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. I do feel angry, but then I'll feel angry with people I know, and friends I feel more angry, but then I sort it out with them.
Yeah.
That this is not okay with me. And I'll have that conversation with you where we'll thrash it out. And for me, once it's thrashed out, then it's down the tube. It's flushed and covered forever. Okay? And then you move on. Because life means that there will be issues that will keep coming up. Now, you said this to me in 1920, then you said it in 1946, and then you said it in 1954. It's not something that is an open bahi khata which you have to keep running. Okay, so that I do with friends. And, I sort out my issues. I cannot be a friend and I cannot speak with you unless I sort out the mess of the past if it's troubling me. So that is the way I am. After I've sorted it out and we've reached whatever, मतलब mostly गलती दूसरे आदमी की होती है, ये भी मेरा given है. आप सॉरी बोल दो फिर आगे चलते हैं. That's also a given, and I have this, if my friends are listening to this, they know exactly what's coming. तो गलती हमेशा उनकी होती है.
Okay.
मेरी तो होती नहीं है. तो
That's a starting point.
that's the starting point.
Okay.
हाँ, तो और यहाँ फिर ये होता है कि मैं बड़ी हूँ, इतनी भी नहीं सुन सकते मेरे से, तो क्या है? What is this? So anyway, sort it out and do a jappi puppy and move on. Very Punjabi about my fights also. के लड़ के collar पकड़ के, but when you sort of finish, jappi puppy and friends forever and move out. Television, frankly, it's not the first place that we go to. And, I don't believe in not taking names. Arnab is somebody who actually got me into television. And I've always admitted it. He got me into television. I would never have explored this landscape if it wasn't his persistence following me. And it was his phone call in Australia, that got me, my defense is low and the meeting happened and the rest, as they say, is history. And I've learned a lot from him. But somewhere along the line, I don't know why, there is something that he has in his mind. He's never shared it. Something's been building up. But there is a lot of, what do I say? There is a lot of bile in there. Now, why should it be on television? If there is a personal bile, then it can be done. I work for the company where he brought me. He also worked for the same company.
Yeah.
I have no problems in recognizing that जब मैं टेलीविजन में आई, मुझे टेलीविजन का कुछ नहीं पता. मुझे स्टोरीज पता थी. टेलीविजन उसने मुझे सिखाया. And I learned by watching him.
Yeah.
He's a great professional, and the way he rose, with the Times Now brand, the way he brought it up is something that's part of history. Who can change it? Why he has the bile, why he has this thing, is for him to say.
Yeah, hopefully you guys will sort it. All of you,
I don't
including
know.
headlines
I have,
today.
The only thing is, I don't know now if it is possible because he has put a defamation case which is going on for 2 years or 2.5 years or whatever. It's been going on. The point is कि आप गाली दे रहे हो. You abuse a brand. The brand belongs to a group which is 180 odd year group. You can't, na? It's not a free run for everybody. It shouldn't. Lakshman Rekhas की अगर बात होती है, तो लक्ष्मण रेखा हर तरफ से मेंटेन होनी चाहिए. मैं आपके बारे में अगर सिर्फ अकेले बोल रही हूँ तो मैं पागल हूँ. पर अगर आप बोलोगे, पहल करोगे तो दूसरा बंदा इज the days of Gandhi ji are long gone. People don't offer the other cheek these days.
Yeah, and competition has become so stiff. All
and
all
we
the
also
channels.
represent. I mean, it's not my company.
Yeah,
It's not my company.
you're speaking on behalf of the company.
If there is a brand that I represent, then I have to fight for that brand because I've also given 17 years to that brand, to that value system. And there is a value system that exists in the Times Group.
Yeah.
There is.
So each channel, for viewers who are watching you guys, each channel every week saying, "Oh, we are number one. We are number one." ज़रूरी है क्या ये करना?
यार, if you ask me, बिल्कुल ज़रूरी नहीं है. If you ask me, and frankly, this is like an autopilot. Again, I mean, it's been going on since Times Now was there. And the tone tenor has only become shriller.
No, it's not just Times Now. It's every channel. Headlines
But
Today,
शुरुआत कहाँ से
CNN,
हुई थी?
ABP.
शुरुआत कहाँ से हुई थी? उसकी जेनेसिस थोड़ा सा रिसर्च करो, पता चल जाएगा.
Is the advertising pie so small that every channel has to have this thing कि मैं first?
I'm sure in recent times, especially since COVID, there have been pressures, and then the whole Barks scam as it came out, the TRP scam as it came out, did put a question mark as far as advertisers were concerned. Following which the government also suspended the TRP system. So I'm sure every industry needs some benchmarks to go by. My sense is that are these TRPs the best way to go? I don't know. I don't think so. Even in its second avatar, two big players are not part of the system. So is it really a system?
Is it sustainable at all, this kind of a...
I don't know. It's a call, frankly, the stakeholders of the industry and the government, which sort of is the policy maker in this. They have to sit together and figure it out. It's not healthy. It creates pressures. Content isn't really the king. Good content, so to speak. And, it tends to make people shriller. And everything goes by कि अगर TRP मिल रही है, then this is what people want.
Yeah, that's why even the judiciary is saying that all this hate and this fights which happen in the debate, Hindu, Muslim, क्या कास्ट रिलेटेड है, जो भी लड़ाइयाँ होती हैं, इट्स ओनली फॉर
सब कुछ टेलीविजन से ही होती हैं. बाकी सोसाइटी जो है वहाँ बंदा बंदे को हक करके रोज चुमिया कर रहा है. आई मीन व्हाट आर वी सेइंग? आर वी इन द रियल वर्ल्ड और नॉट? एवरीथिंग इज टेलीविजन's fault. आर वी रनिंग द कंट्री? Then by that logic, then we are running everything. फिर तो सुबह भी हमारी वजह से होती है, शाम भी हमारी वजह से होती है, बारिश भी हमारी वजह से होती है, ड्राउट भी हमारी वजह से होती है. So, it's a very simplistic way of looking at things. There is a change in society. And I believe that the society, the younger generation, even us, Smita, just talk about yourself. हम आज तो नहीं पैदा हुए. हम पहले इतनी ओपनली कुछ इश्यूज डिस्कस करते थे जैसे आज कर रहे हैं? नहीं करते थे ना. क्यों नहीं करते थे? क्योंकि इट वाज नॉट द डन थिंग. अरे मुझे पता है, व्हेन आई वाज वर्किंग, we are doing this on Karwa Chauth day. When I was working, Karwa Chauth was told to me that it was such a regressive thing on my face by my colleagues. अब क्यों रिग्रेसिव है भाई? क्यों है? पंजाबियों का है उसमें फेथ या नॉर्थ इंडियंस का है उसमें फेथ, तो क्यों रिग्रेसिव है भाई? हम करते हैं.
So everything is then compared, right? अगर ये regressive तो फिर हिजाब को तुम regressive क्यों बोल रहे हो? It's the same thing, There's no... I've just...
No, but at least we are not taking everything in our stride के this is a given, इसको हम question ही नहीं कर सकते.
Remember, Navika, when we were kids, our parents would not... You see, if you are a student of history, तो तुम class में you could ask a couple of questions on, say, Gandhi ji or Nehru ji or whatever. But you could never question anything, any decision taken by Nehru. That no, because you deify some people. Today everybody has feet of clay. You can question anything. There is nothing
History
sanctity.
में कौन question पूछ रहा था? तुम्हारे दिल्ली के स्कूलों में पूछते होंगे. I grew up in erstwhile Bihar in a convent school. It was in Mount Carmel Convent, Digwadi, district Dhanbad. हाँ, तो ऐसे कोई प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं थी. हमको जो पूछना था पूछते थे. और फ्रैंकली हिस्ट्री तो सब रट्टा ही लगाते थे क्योंकि you had those chapters which you had to learn. Where was the good and the bad? What was about questioning at that point in time?
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So you didn't question, right?
We did
But today everybody is
No,
questioning. That's a good thing.
That's a
isn't
good thing. And you will. This is the time, this is the cycle of things. There will be a period. Our generation was not so questioning. Our parents told us, na, बोल दिया सो बोल दिया.
it? Yeah.
6 बजे घर आना है, अंधेरे होने से पहले घर आना है, तो आना है. That was the rule.
Yeah. And as journalists also, it was like, हाँ, कर लो अपनी journalism, but come back home. Jaldi. There was no question. Women journalists couldn't do that, hang out in bars and get a story, which guys can.
My dad, when my first job in ET Bahadur Shah Zafar Marg, my dad used to sit in a car downstairs waiting for me to finish. And I used to say it's, creating a lot of tension for me. And my father very sweetly would say, we used to live in Vasant Kunj those days and not Vasant Kunj of today, where everything is so well developed. वो JNU के बाद जो वसंत कुंज जाना होता था जंगलों के बीच में. My father used to sit there that मैं बैठा हूँ, मैं तुम्हें कुछ नहीं कह रहा, तुम पे कोई प्रेशर नहीं है, तुम अपना काम करते रहो, मैं तो आराम से बैठ के पेपर पढ़ रहा हूँ कार में, पर लेके जाऊंगा तुम्हें. You won't come in an auto.
Yeah, so it was against all odds if you got a story because it was harder. You couldn't go to, say, if you were in Delhi, you couldn't go to India International Center or you couldn't go to Press Club, which male journalists could do. Anyway, so let me get back to television journalism of today. Would you advise young journalists that get into television journalists? It's a fulfilling job.
Sure, why not? In fact, to all journalists, I would say that whether it's print, web, digital, whatever, television, join journalism only if you have the passion for it. And in our times, we were taught that there is a very well-defined line between journalism and activism. Today, that line has got blurred. And if you want to go back to the drawing board, it's a very, very well-defined line that we were taught to respect. I think we need to go back to the basics and look at that line. The Lakshman Rekhas are important.
Many think that that's not the case. Like I tend to agree with you that activism or journalism दो अलग चीजें हैं. Like I haven't seen you and I haven't done it myself of going to India Gate and standing with a banner and all that because I was the one covering it. कि अगर कोई protest कर रहा है वो for whatever reason, whether it was the Delhi rape case, whether it was उससे पहले मंडल agitation या जो भी हम cover कर रहे थे, हम cover कर रहे थे, हम इस तरफ थे. उस तरफ में protest हो रहा था. Even if your sympathies lied with the people or with the cause, you didn't protest. But I have seen many journalists who feel that that's not the case. Journalists should get involved and that lines are blurred and it's because...
To my mind, the traditional old school journalism thought process that I come from, I think the line is very well defined and it should be respected. Activism is a different profession. It's a different activity altogether. Journalism is different, to my mind. But of course, हमें तो कुछ आता नहीं. Fact checkers बताएंगे हमें.
Fact checkers ही नहीं. If you remember, I mean, you've not done the foreign beat, but you have done at times foreign beat. I know you never liked it.
Protocol. The good old Mr. Arun Jaitley used to tell me. The foreign affairs beat is 80% protocol and 20% alcohol. Not interested in both.
Not true, okay? God bless his soul, but not true. But yeah, I know what people used to say. But you've done a couple of stories.
वो कुछ बोलते नहीं है यार. I mean, I have tried and you've seen me trying. कि भाई बोलो तो सही. ये सवाल है, इसका कोई जवाब तो दे दो. But the niceties, get to me. That is one thing that raises my blood pressure.
Okay, but in many senior editors जो foreign beat भी करते थे, they used to say that हमने वाजपेयी जी से कहा कि आप लाहौर जाइए, हमने वाजपेयी जी से कहा कि now is the time that India Pakistan issues. तो वही मैं उस टाइम भी मैं I was very low level print reporter or agency reporter where you have no egos agency में ना, तो खुद लिख के दे दो, वो कोई और वॉइस ओवर करके अपनी स्टोरी बना लेता था. So yeah.
बॉटम लाइन तो ठीक रहती थी.
हाँ, तो क्रेडिट भी नहीं देना, एजेंसी में तो ये होता है ना. सो दीज editors used to hobnob with and give ज्ञान to prime ministers, and जब वो हो गया जो भी था, उसके बाद क्लेम कि मैंने किया. So that is an activism of a different level altogether, isn't it? And they justified that for the greater good हमने किया.
भाई ये एक this was a different era when they were the greats and they decided the future governments, the future foreign policies, or so they thought. I don't think in
अब
the
नहीं है
present day there is any such greatness that has been assigned to us, nor are we in the position to assign it to ourselves.
So you interview prime ministers, home ministers, ज्ञान नहीं मांगते आपसे?
नहीं, कोई नहीं मांगता. हमारी कोई एडवाइजरी सिचुएशन नहीं है.
They don't tell you
हमारे
कि-
बच्चे भी हमसे एडवाइस नहीं मांगते.
They don't ask you कि देश का क्या करें हम,
नहीं,
क्या
नहीं, कोई
कल्याण कैसे करें.
नहीं स्मिता, आई डोंट थिंक किसी से कोई पूछ रहा है कि उन्हें क्या करना है.
Okay.
These days everybody knows what they want to do and how they have to do it. I don't think journalists should ever think that they play some advisory role.
And there's a lot of criticism that also comes to successful journalists like you and some of the others.
What
who
is
get,
successful journalism?
in the sense that come on,
TRP.
you are right up there. इतना
Because
भी
you watch my channel, there will be 30 who will say कि ये वाला हम channel नहीं देखते. फिर then I'll become unsuccessful.
you are this humility is a little bit like
No,
Amitabh
but I'm
Bachchan
just
कि
saying
मैं
what is
मैं
the-
टॉप पे नहीं हूँ. आप
नहीं.
टॉप पे हैं नाविका. You are.
If you say so, Smita, like a Punjabi, humility doesn't come easily to me. But if you're saying so, I'm happy to believe
Look,
it.
you get
But what
all-
changes? What changes?
You get-
You have to work hard for today's show, for tomorrow's show, as much as you worked hard for yesterday's show.
That I
so what?
agree with you.
So
Yeah.
what changes? What is success? Success is you're as good as your last story, is what I was taught when I was growing up.
But see, everybody says that you have access compared to many of the other journalists जो
I have
40
access.
साल से they don't get the opportunity, they don't get the access which they say 2014 के बाद only a few journals have.
भाई तो 2014 से पहले हमारा एक्सेस नहीं था. तो वो क्यों भूल जाते हैं लोग? तो हम तब फेलियर थे क्या? हम तब भी स्कैम्स निकाल रहे थे. CWG स्कैम, 2G स्कैम, फलाना ढिमका सब कर ही रहे थे ना. तब भी हम निकाल रहे थे. भाई आई थिंक the way I've learned my reporting, and I'm not saying I've done some great reporting in the countryside and in the rural India. My beat, so to speak, was ministry reporting. And I've done various ministries. So that was the beat that I sort of grew up with. I've done that. And I think I did it with a great deal of rigor, with a great deal of success only through hard work. Because I used to go down, to get a story to the level. And if time permits, I just want to tell you, there was a story that once somebody told me that there was a minister who came. Naya Mantri, the first decision he took on file was to give guns that had been confiscated by customs. And he gave those 2 guns to his sons.
Okay.
And that was the first decision that he took. And I was a young reporter at that time. अब कागज वागज तो आपको कोई देने वाला नहीं था क्योंकि सब डरते थे मंत्री से, ऑब्वियसली. तो अब कागज ढूंढो. I will tell you this, and all the greats sitting in the Indian Express know who I'm talking about because they cleared my story and it was discussed and planned out in the newsroom in Indian Express. and near the airport at that time there was a new customs house जहाँ पे confiscated ये revolvers और ये सब
तोशाखाना
में तोशाखाना तो आई थिंक गिफ्ट्स का होता है, ये कॉट
ओके मे बी
हाँ ये कॉट वाला था, तो एक तय खाना टाइप हिंदी फिल्म स्टाइल, हाँ एक तय खाना था, बेसमेंट में जाना था. एंड आई एम टेलिंग यू लिटरली लाइक अ हिंदी फिल्म. आई वेंट देयर एंड अ मेल कॉलीग केम विद मी जस्ट फॉर हेल्प, बिकॉज बायलाइन तो मुझे शेयर नहीं करनी थी. ठीक है, वो भी बड़ा
देखा लड़ाकी तो यू आर.
बिल्कुल हाँ. तो वो स्टैंड बाय के लिए ऑफिस गुडविल ने भेजा था मेरा एक कॉलीग कि वो इन केस यू नीड हेल्प यू कैन कॉल आउट टू हिम. तो मैं नीचे गई और एक मतलब वहाँ पे वो जो गार्ड था ना, वो लिटरली
बाउंसर
काइंड ऑफ अ गार्ड था, और उसकी मुच्छड़ जो थी ना, दैट वाज सो स्कैरी. इट वाज लाइक मुझे तो नथु लाल वाली
ओके
वैसे वाली वो मुच्छड़ वाला गार्ड था. अब कैसे निकाला जाए, हमें तो कुछ पता नहीं. हमें सिर्फ अप्रॉक्सीमेटली ये पता था कि मंत्री को आए 1.5 महीना हुआ है, तो 1.5 महीने में हमें वो लिस्ट देखनी है कि कहाँ से इशू हुआ है उनके नाम पे. तो हमने हमने मुच्छड़ से दोस्ती की और हमने बोला कि हमारा भाई वो अब्रॉड है और उसकी गन खो गई है, लेकिन हमारे पास नंबर नहीं है, हमको एफआईआर दर्ज कराना है कि गन खो गई है, तो एफआईआर दर्ज कराना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो मेरा भाई बेचारा जेल जाएगा. सम सॉब स्टोरी आई कंकॉक्टेड एंड मुच्छड़ के साथ दोस्ती कर ली और उसका रजिस्टर ले लिया. और उसका रजिस्टर लेके उसमें हमने फिर पेज कौन सी डेट को उठाया था मुझे याद नहीं, करते आई एक्चुअली स्टम्बल्ड अपॉन द पेज जहाँ मंत्री के दोनों बेटों के सिग्नेचर थे.
वाओ.
ऐसे करके स्टोरीज हमने निकाली. अ न्यू कस्टम्स हाउस, उन दिनों भी किसी को नहीं पता था कि तय खाने में आपको एक रजिस्टर.
that there was one there.
So that's what I'm saying, that I have gotten into the details of getting these stories out. Another time I did a story where I used to cover telecom. MTNL had put a antenna on top of the Supreme Court, and on file it had justified that we've written to the registrar that in return for the antenna we'll give cell phones to all the judges, honorable judges of the Supreme Court. And then the justification had been made on file that our cases are also going on in Supreme Court. This will help in building relations with the Supreme Court judges.
I see.
अब ये
हाँ
पूरा हमारे पास कागज़ पत्र थे. फिर हमने चेक करवाया कुछ दोस्तों से कि भाई सुप्रीम कोर्ट के छत पे कोई एंटीना लगा है. फिर हमने निकाले व्हाट आर द rules of salaries to judges and all. Now salaries are paid by the Consolidated Fund of India, and judges are appointed by the President of India. तो antenna जो है, the building and the property is maintained by the government or the PWD by direction by the President. तो antenna जो लगा है उसका रेंटल सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजेस को क्यों जा रहा है भाई? It's a perk that is being given to them, which is not in the pay or whatever, which is fixed by the whatever system that is there to decide the judge's pay. So I remember I filed that story and there was total chaos in the top rung of my newspaper. कि भाई एक आधा जज नहीं है, ये 26 के 26 सुप्रीम कोर्ट के judges, what do you think will go? And I still remember that story went for legal opinion to Fali Nariman.
Okay.
And he said...
After it got published?
No, before. Because, I mean, the newspaper would have...
So these are the firewalls which are there in newspapers. But ऐसे firewalls television newsroom में तो अब we don't have them. That's why I guess because of the immediacy ना, जल्दी story जानी होती है.
नहीं, पर some of the firewalls and shortcuts have begun to come in, but actually this is the principle. You have to get a comment from the sources. In this case it was the Supreme Court and 26 judges, so it went for a legal opinion that will be held for contempt of saying this. The whole process, and I think 2 weeks, and these were exclusive stories, so people sat on it for 2 weeks before a final call was taken. And when it was printed, the headline, I still remember, this was 20 years ago. The headline read, "Hello, Your Lordships."
Does television news give you the same kind of satisfaction like this headline that you're talking about?
A different kind, but it does.
It's heady.
Office of Profit, I broke. I think 1 month old Times Now. And I was the first one to break Jaya Bachchan first. And I was the first one to go on air to say that Sonia Gandhi is resigning. At that time, I got calls from such high offices to get off air. And
Yeah.
that afternoon, she did resign.
So tell me, these politicians whom you meet, who you interview and all, they must be getting mad at you also at times that they do. So people think...
Is this my autobiography?
No, that's going to be long later. Abhi thodi na. Itni jaldi nahi. But tell me,
Is this podcast going to end anytime
Yes,
soon,
yes,
or
yes,
are we
yes.
make
Finishing.
are we getting all the secrets of my life out?
Since it's Karwa Chauth, you can aram se go today to work. So khun maaf aaj. Acha suno.
मैंने किया नहीं कोई भाई, इससे पहले कि मेरे में और FIRs हो जाए, मैंने कोई खून नहीं किया.
So this is what people tend to think, that you're meeting with so many politicians, there are selfies with politicians. ये तो सब दोस्त है. They don't understand there's something called being friendly and a friend. A journalist can't become a friend as such with politician, right?
Can't even be friends with regular colleagues who are journalists.
Isn't it?
They'll claw your eyes out. Except, some touch wood.
Yeah.
Few like you and me who can get along because we are non-competitive, I guess.
That's true.
Otherwise, very difficult to have lasting friendships.
Yeah, you have to keep that kind of a
I
balance.
don't know whether you have to keep that or...
क्योंकि एक स्टोरी करो अगेंस्ट एनी ऑफ देम और द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन और द
it's all
पार्टी
over.
पीछे पड़ जाते हैं फिर कि ये क्यों किया, इसको डिलीट करो, इसको मत चलाओ. डज दैट हैपन? हमको बोलने नहीं दिया. दैट्स अनदर वन. वी केम ऑन योर शो एंड यू डिडंट लेट अस टॉक. ये भी होता होगा.
नहीं, मैं तो सबको बोलने देती हूँ. तुम अपनी बात करो स्मिता.
But they argue so much on your channel and they say you're unfair, you're allowing that one to speak and not us. It doesn't matter to you anymore.
No, I try to do my best, but beyond that, अब क्या ही है? अब मार दो यार.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it, that, this
अब
is
क्या
how it is.
करूँ? तुम मतलब, if you expect somebody to give you a certificate saying that you're doing a great job, वो कहीं से नहीं आता.
Achha, you're in one thing before I conclude. You started a Hindi news channel. I mean, you're basically an English journalist. You learned how to speak fluently in Hindi, though you're a Punjabi. But that fluency in Hindi, because
I grew up in Bihar, you forget.
But your thinking is in English and your writing is in English. Your journalism is in English. Was it difficult to adapt to Hindi?
ये अपने देश की भाषा है, बहुत यूज करते हैं यार. I mean, in our day-to-day, our workspace, it didn't matter. Language is, I can speak Bengali. ভালো করে বলতে পারি. আমি কলকাতায় জন্ম হয়েছে আমার.
So, oh wow. Okay, so then now Times Now Bangla?
No. Too many FIRs there.
Okay.
They'll have to find another editor. Of course, Times Now Bangla is possible.
Mamta Didi will be listening to this and saying, okay, Navika now can speak Bengali.
ভালোবাসি দিদিকে, কিন্তু I don't know how police files all sorts of FIRs against me.
I'm sure it'll get resolved.
At some point, I guess. I like everything gets resolved in life, I feel.
Okay. So we'll get you back
As of
soon.
now, I can only say कि Supreme Court ने no coercive action कहा है.
Yeah.
So at least
That was a great thing that gave you
I know
relief.
more than me, my kids and my family were feeling कि कभी रात को आके मेरे को arrest करके ले जाएंगे तो क्या होगा?
I know.
And what if they do it on a Friday? Then what will we do over the weekend?
Cook the butter chicken and keep it ready just in case.
No, well, they weren't that okay with it or with the thought.
Okay. Thank you so much for speaking with us, Navika. And we hope to have you back soon.
Really? Are there still some secrets left?
Still some secrets.
And will I have friends left after this?
Of course you will. Of course you will. People look up to you because there's so much to be said.
Tell me which one. I really want to meet.
No, really, because as a journalist who got into television midlife, as you yourself are saying, you are an inspiration to many journalists, women journalists who say, yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter at what point of time we can make a success in television journalism.
Everybody, can make a success of whatever they do. It depends. They have to have their own version of success that they are looking for, and they have to love what they do. Just like I'm still in love with my job, and my hobby happen to be the same thing. I still have the same passion,
And
which
a
I
sense
see.
of humor. You have a sense of humor that's great. You don't take yourself too seriously. I like
You
that.
shouldn't. I mean, here today, gone tomorrow. Nobody will remember us, Smita. Please believe you me.
Yeah.
So this whole aura of greatness that we assign to ourselves, कुछ नहीं है boss. आज हैं कल नहीं रहेंगे.
We are not agents of change or anything.
ऐसा
like that.
कुछ भी नहीं है. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. पर एक गाना
Please.
नहीं गा तो नहीं सकती
Please
because
गा
I'm
दो ना.
croaking. But
You're sounding like Shamshad Begum right now.
हाँ,
Okay, so please
And
गा
this
दो.
is a Lata Mangeshkar song. I cannot sing it in Shamshad Begum's voice.
Okay.
But रहे ना रहे हम महका करेंगे.
Oh, that's a lovely one. On that note, thank you. Thank you so much, Navika.
Thank you, Smita. Thank you for having me. And two women, we really talk too much.
Okay. Thank you for watching or listening to ANI Podcast with Smita Prakash. Do like or subscribe on whichever channel you heard this. Namaste. Jai Hind.